Shifting gears over to China, it's Germany's largest trading partner outside of the EU, and that's a fact that's become controversial in the current government. Just one reason why observers are closely watching this week's Chinese visit by German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock. Now, on Friday, Baerbock warned Beijing about its closeness to Russia and its plans for Taiwan, concerns shared by Western allies like the US, which has raised trade restrictions on China in recent years. But those growing trade boundaries are a rising concern in Europe. New export figures showing that China expanded its business with Russia above all other countries recently. George Magnus is an economist and associate at the China Center at Oxford University. George, welcome to the show. The German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock is considered a hawk on China, but we know that German business is still quite dependent on the country and that it's rather noisy about efforts to limit its investment or even put it in check. Looking beyond Baerbock's comments about China, can we say that Germany is really even capable of giving a clear position on China?
Well, I think capable is, the answer to the question, capable, the answer is yes. Whether it's willing to do so is another matter. And of course, now we're in the crosshairs, really, very, very difficult crosshairs of the tension between the way in which politics seems to be driving us in the world and the realities of engagement in commerce and trade. Obviously the German government and other European governments have already expressed certainly some sympathy and in fact taken action to try to scrutinize Chinese investment in what are regarded as very national security sensitive and technologically sensitive areas. But we don't see yet, I think, in Europe, the same kind of determination to pursue the kind of export controls and scrutiny over investment flows and commerce as we see in the United States. And perhaps that's kind of inevitable to some extent because of Europe's involvement.
I was going to ask, is it fair to say that Europe is far more entangled with China when it comes to business, and especially Germany, even looking beyond Volkswagen or BASF, that they're far more entangled in business there?
Very much so, I would say. And in fact, if you look at the trade statistics of Germany and of the EU with China over the last 2 or 3 years, even actually, you'll see just a massive increase in volume. Not so much on the export side, but on the import side. So we're taking so much more trade or imports from China than we used to, for example, before COVID. And a lot of that is due to automobiles and to automobile parts, particularly electric vehicles, for example. In a way, the EU's kind of commitment or involvement in China trade is, we're trying to hang on to basically a kind of a position in China which is becoming increasingly difficult, partly because China wants to do a lot of things itself nowadays.
We spoke to an IMF economist earlier this week who warned that this kind of fragmentation of global trade, that these new lines drawn over trade relationships, whether from the US or from China or even Europe, that they'll cost the West in terms of prosperity. How concerned should we be about that? As briefly as you can.
Yeah, I think we should be concerned. But I don't think there's anything that we can really do about it because the Chinese are concerned to kind of purify their own supply chains. They have this big program of self-reliance. And in liberal democracies, we kind of want to keep China out of what we think are national security sensitive areas. So I don't think there's any choice, really. The supply chains will become more expensive and more fragmented.
All right, that's George Magnus with the China Center at Oxford University. Thank you.